33 days, 24 castaways, 7 co hosts, and 1 podcast. This is your host, Pooty, and today we are going to go over the Strandies for Stranded in Bhutan. We have a lot of awards to get to tonight. We have a lot of players, so the way we normally do this is that we go through the fan favorite first, and we go in reverse order, so we get to talk about each of you and why I think you placed in the placements that you did in the fan favorite poll. This is voted on by the lurkers, the people who watch the season, so it gives you a good idea of what we thought you were in terms of the fan favorite. How that fan favorite is determined is up to the voter. Sometimes they vote for biggest character, sometimes it's the person that they like the most. There might be a mix of the two somewhere in there. That's like the kind of the perfect storm. But we can go ahead and get started with the ranking. So in 24th place, Carla with 15% of the vote. And in 23rd place, we have Jennifer with 17.89% of the vote. No real surprise here. Carla, I thought was someone who I was very excited to see play, someone that Nofo had recommended, and certainly had a crazy personality, someone who had massive potential to be a big character, but never really materialized. And obviously, she was booted very early because of that. And similarly, Jennifer was someone who was great on paper, but really never showed up to the point of being removed. So, not much to say here. In Stranded, whether you're a villain or a hero or strategic or what have you, as long as you show up and give a lot of effort, your ranking should be decent. And these two did not do that. So, probably well deserved 24th and 23rd place here. Moving on to, I'm going to do these two at a time because there's 24 of you to get through. Moving on to 22nd place, Cody. No major shock. He was really not well liked by the lurkers. He started off very strong as a player. I really had high hopes as a character. He would be a fantastic character, but towards the end there, he really started to get a little sensitive with some of the language being used, and then he really started to kind of die on a sword for some players who probably didn't need that help, but he took it upon himself to do that. So, yeah, that's right. Dean said the White Knight. We got a White Knight situation, and he quit the game.
Without him, we would not have feminism.
It's true. He's a modern day feminist, Cody. Just really cringe. And it's sad because I really felt like he was such a strong character in the game. And certainly we love our cringe lords. So, I think it would have parlayed into a fantastic season of entertainment had he actually stuck around. But he didn't, so fuck him. And in 21st place, we have our drug king, Darnell. Darnell was someone who just quit on a whim because he was high that night. So kudos to him for being innovative. Immediately afterwards, he kind of forgot that he quit. So, what can you say? Another first for Stranded, someone so high that they quit the game.
I don't know if anyone has ever quit for that reason, but we love having a new first. And yeah, he also thought that he wrote in the lurkers or in the main server, I don't think I'm gonna get casted again, so have good lives, y'all. Fuck half of you. And he just left. And he had to have been high for that one too. God bless him.
Yeah, we love King Darnell. Hopefully he continues to get high and curse us out. Moving swiftly along, in 20th place, with 24% of the vote, was Michelle. And in 19th place, with 30% of the vote, a significant jump up, was Gabler. Michelle, similarly to Darnell, but not as high, she was in and out of quitting throughout most of the game that she was here. And then once she quit, she threatened to sue us. So, what you gonna do? She has since joined the server, so it seems like we might not be getting that lawsuit, but time will tell. And then, of course, Gabler, who is friends with alumni Aubrey and Jonas, referred by them. He kind of had a pretty good start. We had high hopes for him, slower than we had liked, but he was picking up. And then, he obviously had a serious accident that seemed to be pretty touch and go there for a little while. So we're glad to see that he is fully recovered, or at least mostly recovered, and he has joined the server. So welcome back, Gabler. Glad you're doing okay. And that's right. Sydney said in the chat, she's here to promote her seven orgs. Yeah, her story was that she hosted seven orgs over the course of one summer. So um, kudos. I don't know if that's true. I don't really believe most of what Michelle says. Don't sue me for saying that, but that's on her. Moving right along, in 18th place, we have our pre-jury king, Caleb, with 33.33% of the vote. And in 17th place, we have Owen, another pre-jury king. Two different sides of the coin. I think the tragic part with Caleb was that his boot was pretty swap fucked, so it wasn't like he necessarily did something terribly wrong. But then immediately after that, we had some quits, and so that was extra tragic. Coupled by the fact that he was a very active lurker, killed it in the lurker server. So it's just really a bummer when someone who shows up and is ready to play gets killed earlier than people who don't want to play. It's always a bummer. Owen, on the other hand, was a fantastic strategist and player. He just got at the pre-merge council. Not as tragic as, say, a Caleb, because he did well, but still, I would have liked to see Owen go a little bit further. So I think that this placement is justified here in 17th place. Yeah, I'd like to see Owen in the future. I hope he decides to play again. I think he could go pretty far. In 16th place, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of big characters. In 16th place, we have our third place finisher for the season, Scott, with 40.44% of the vote. Yeah, it's always tough when they make it very far, but then they get lower on the fan favorite poll. And I think a lot of that is frustration from the lurkers, especially because he's someone who I think we were yelling at all season to do something, and then we didn't get that reaction. To his credit, he was there the whole time, active, playing. I just think he had never played these before, so therefore he didn't really know what playing meant and how easy it was to get stuck in the goat role, if you will. And that's not the greatest of all time. That's the opposite of that. And that ended up happening to him. He kind of Scooby Dooed himself. In 15th place is the iconic Debbie with 48.28% of the vote. What can't be said about Debbie? Debbie's short 5 days in the game really catapulted her to a new level of icon. Everyone has been quoting her all season. We can't quite put my finger on why, but just everything that Debbie did was hilarious. Yeah, a huge jump in the numbers. She was very popular with the lurkers in her short time there. Really, I would put her in the upper echelon of insane people that I would have back every season if I could. I think she will definitely be back. I can't promise it will go smoothly with Debbie. You never know. But certainly it will be entertaining regardless. And for those of you who have not had the opportunity to lurk a season with Debbie, stay tuned for that. Up next, we're getting into the higher numbers here. We have in 14th place Noel with 54% of the vote, and in 13th place we have Ryan with 55% of the vote. It's going to start getting to just lurker preferences towards these top numbers. I think we'll start with Noel. For me, I think Noel was kind of that typical behind the scenes strategist role. And I know she was very popular, she almost won and would have deserved to win, by the way. But I think it's just one of those things lurking. It's not the most exciting game. And it's hard when we know that from watching that, oh, okay, this person is very under the radar. They're definitely going to make the final three and have very little competition to get there. That's hard to watch. And so I know personally I was rooting for Sydney to win because I do think her road to get there was harder. But That's not to say Noelle didn't play a fantastic game either. It's just one of those situations she might have actually been able to pull off a Scooby Doo, which is very difficult to do. And certainly, I know she has her fans amongst the jury and the cast at large, and deservingly so. But I can certainly see why she's midway, let's say, through the popularity poll, as opposed to some of our larger characters. Ryan is someone who played Isolated before this. He was a iconic character in Isolated, so we were finally able to get him to play Stranded. We've been trying to for quite some time, and the stars finally aligned, and he agreed to play. And I would say, instantly into the Desho role, which was hilarious because he didn't fully understand what was going to happen. I think he didn't read the description when he signed up for it, and then instantly he was like, "Oh, I made a mistake here. Yeah, this is not going to be good for me." And I think the cool part was, though, that he stuck with it the whole time and actually kind of embraced it. And we'll see that when we talk about Ellie, who's still up for the award, obviously. These are two players that really embrace that title. And in the past, we've had people who try to like play around it. And these two, I think, just took it, did the missions, dealt with the consequences, and moved forward. And I think that they handled it very appropriately. And we love when people lean into a twist and don't try to shy away from it or get frustrated with it. So kudos to Ryan for playing here. Also, his alliance with Sammy the whole season was really fun to watch. I think he didn't get enough credit from the rest of his cast members for being an integral part of that pair. Namely, I think he gave Sammy an idol. I think he helped him find one for sure. And I really think he kind of got underestimated because of his personality throughout the game. So, kudos to Ryan. I'm actually surprised he's this low on the Lurkers chat, but I think that that's probably accurate for his personality and some of the newer players that got a lot of Lurker love this season. Moving along, we have in 12th place our pre-jury queen, Anna. And in 11th place, we have Cassidy. Anna, obviously an iconic character this season. She has 60% of the vote here. Large jump up. Every season we have that pre-juror that everyone kind of remembers, and it's tough because this time we had Debbie and we also had Anna. But Anna as a new player was.
Hear me at all.
We can hear you. Anna as a new player came in and really took focus away from a lot of the players this season. And really, yeah, I mean, we got an eyeful in a lurker server where it was just her talking all the time about absolutely everything. And it was just really entertaining. I love seeing someone who is a different demographic than the typical org player come in and do really well. Certainly, Stranded has had its history of older players, women, you name it. But Anna really, really kind of exemplified that type of player, and it was really fun watching her play. And also, she was a great sport in the Lurker server. I can remember immediately afterwards, everyone was like super annoyed with her and like, oh, she's not going to last. This is not going to go well for her.
Can you guys
And
hear me?
of course we can. And then I'll put right on cue. Slowly over the course of a few weeks in, she just kind of grew on everyone because she was just ready to learn and be entertained and entertain us, and was a pretty good sport about it. Now she's had some problematic moments throughout her time in the lurker server, not understanding things, thinking some people were creeps when I don't think that they were. I think that she just misunderstood some things. So definitely a steep learning curve for Anna, but certainly we're thrilled to have her as a character and player this season. And she is a trooper for putting up with all that, so kudos to her. In 11th place, we have Cassidy, someone who also came from Isolated and actually had played with Winston in All-Stars, although I don't think that they identified each other here. This season, though, we saw different Cassidy. In her original Isolated game, she was very domineering, won HOH a lot, came in 3rd place, I think, so, we were really eager to get her into Stranded. And she played a totally different game here. In fact, she gave up her chance at winning any kind of immunity in the merge. And really relied on her social game, and she kind of played under the radar in a way that I hadn't seen from her. And it was just interesting. I thought I really liked her slow burn. I thought it was potentially a winning strategy for her to do that slow burn, but just I think towards her boot, it just didn't work out for her. I don't think her visibility was up enough to kind of ingratiate herself with the other players, so it was easier to get rid of her. But I do enjoy her gameplay here, and I think that she made a good run of it. So kudos to Cassidy. Moving on to 10th and ninth place. In 10th place, we have NECA with 64% of the vote. And in ninth place, we have Ellie with 68% of the vote. NECA was someone who was really surprising. She was a new player, obviously. And we didn't really know what to expect. We just knew that we liked her a lot in casting. And I'm pleased to say throughout the game, she really had her hand in a lot of different cookie jars and played the game actually pretty strong at times. At other times, she was not very strong, and it just kind of bounced all around. And it was just very fun to watch someone who was really earnest and playing how they felt and was their own person and not necessarily trying to play too safe or it certainly was unpredictable. So she was a lot of fun. She's one of my personal favorites this season. I really loved watching her, and I was really bummed when she left. Ellie is someone who, as I said earlier, really embraced the show role, which made for a super fun season. It could have easily been someone who was a wet blanket and didn't really do the tasks as they should have, or just gave it up quickly. Shout out Janine. But she didn't do that. She stuck with it all the way through, even to the task that was very detrimental to her when she decided to give up all of her immunities. And I think it's a credit to Ellie that all the players who were voted off kept giving her their votes as part of the karma twist. Ellie is someone who all of the lurkers really appreciated as really an all-star this season. I think she really proved her worth, embraced the game, was a star throughout the whole thing. On the Garuda tribe, she was really one of I think the top player, probably the leader. I know she was immune, but even without that, I think everyone just looked up to her as someone that they could trust and put their faith in. So that was very interesting going through. And she's someone who I definitely think we'll be seeing again. At least I hope so. I think she killed it this season, so kudos to Ellie. Getting down to our top 8. In 8th place, we have Jesse with 68%. And in 7th place, we have Peter with 68%. If we round up, it's 69, which is probably more appropriate for Peter. Jesse, obviously, is someone who came into the game. We knew of Jesse because of Leslie, his wife, who played in the previous new player season, the Andes, where she came in 4th. Leslie was an absolute rock star that season. High up there in fan favorite, someone everyone was rooting for. So we were really excited. Oh Lord!
There's no sound.
Oh Lord!
There isn't.
There
There's
she
just
goes.
zero sound.
Oh, oh no! There she goes again, y'all. All right, I'm gonna mute her. No, I'm not. I'm gonna let her go. Sorry, been thrown off my game. So Leslie plays really well, and then obviously we knew about her family because Leslie was pregnant when she played, which was crazy. And then shortly after the season, she had the baby, and then we had heard about her husband, and so everyone kind of knows someone that they want to play, and it does give you a leg up when you're a referral. But really, when we spoke to him, he was really entertaining, someone that we absolutely would have cast regardless. So it was a no-brainer for us. And then there was this extra bonus of someone who we could compare, right? Here's his wife who just played. How does he play? What is he going to do? And it's just interesting that they both had pretty much the same placement with 4th place. I think it was really hard throughout the season for him because he kept saying, I don't want to be compared to my wife. We're playing different games with different players. And they are different players, they're different people. But certainly we're going to compare and contrast. And it's just very interesting that they got about the same place. Peter was someone who was super fun throughout the whole season. I really didn't expect him to become the character and the player that he is. He started with the poop jokes, which, like, whatever. But then towards the merge, he really became like this aggressive player. And I think given another shot, Peter could step up in a way that he could control a season. And I actually think his humor and his willingness to play would really bode well for him. So I'm excited about Peter's future in gaming and in Stranded. And kudos to him here. He was super fun to watch, one of the funniest players and the most entertaining players overall. So well deserved 7th place in
You
this fan
guys
favorite
can hear me.
poll. Oh Lord, yes, we can hear you. This is hilarious. So I'm just gonna let this roll throughout the whole stream. In 6th place, with 69% of the votes, also appropriate, we have Daddy Joe. And in 5th place, we have Sammy, someone who was certainly very popular throughout the cast. A lot of the players really loved Sammy. But first, let's talk about Joe. Joe was fucking hilarious, okay? I could not. Everything Joe said cracked me up for some reason. I don't know if it's because of the rep that he was playing or I was just envisioning his voice because he did voice confessionals, which were fucking great. And by the way, voice confessionals are always a way to a lurker's heart. Just a pro tip if you happen to play again. Joe was so hilarious throughout. I think everything he did, intentional or not, to be funny, was great. He also did really well in the immunities and really became like this pre-merge threat for some reason. I don't quite think it was deserved, but everyone assumed he was like the top of Garuda and he absolutely had to go. And so people were like throwing challenges so that he would go home, and he was winning despite that. And it was just crazy. So to have him make that merge tribal council was incredible. And then to have him as the first juror was hilarious throughout. And then I think the cherry on top had to be that doxing gate in the final tribal council. I mean, I know I shouldn't laugh because like it is serious. I don't want anyone to feel like they're being doxxed or whatever, but it was fucking hilarious. Oh my god. And I just sent like 20 messages at once. So that's Joe. We love Joe. Of course, 6th place. It's hard because I would love to have a lot of people higher. But Joe's one of my favorites. I think he was super fun this season. In 5th place, we have Sammy. Sammy is someone who really played a hard game from jump. He was very in the mix, very well liked by a lot of people. Played a super strong game throughout. I can safely say I was not a Sammy fan. I typically don't gravitate towards people who complain about like people being too crass or whatever else, but I really grew to respect Sammy throughout the whole season. I thought he played a fantastic game and was a really likable player. And so he earned my respect, and therefore watching him play and have more fun, especially with him and Ryan as the dynamic duo that they were throughout the season, was really fun. You can't help but root for that. And I also think he really had a good attitude about the whole thing, where I think my initial impression, a lot of this cast, look, a lot of the cast got lumped into like, oh god, they're really not, they're overly sensitive. This is not going to end well because Stranded, and the players in Stranded are typically not very sensitive and are very over the top and crass, which the lurkers are going wild about. And so, I thought, well, this is a recipe for disaster. We've already had people quit and threaten to quit and were insulted, and they didn't like that people were saying cunt. And I was like, that's like the least of their worries compared to some of the other shit that's been said. But all in all, Sammy proved me wrong. He wasn't quite in that group. He really had a level head and was mature. We're going to get to you, Kyle, when you come up in this ranking. He was a great sport. He played a fantastic game. Certainly at one point, I thought he could immunity his way throughout the whole game and just win, which would have been awesome. But it wasn't so. But I thank him for giving his all to this season, and certainly we enjoyed watching him. And I think a lot of the lurkers are actually surprised that he's so, I mean, you want to say low, he's top 5, but lower than what they thought maybe he could be. So kudos to him. Getting into our top 4, in 4th place, we have our winner, Sydney. And in 3rd place, we have Liz. It's hard when you get to this level because it's, a lot of the votes are close, or it's just your best guess as to who deserves what placement. But yeah, I just think that these two were super lovable and rootable throughout the whole season. Both women who came into the game and kicked ass. Liz, this was her first game ever. Sydney had won a lot of games before this, so just polar opposites, but both played an incredible game. And I do think, we talk about under the radar and players who were more subdued. I would have put Liz in that category actually, but she was so rootable for the players watching that I think that is the difference. It's a player who is still entertaining but is under the radar and taking the viewers on a journey with them and playing the game to the fullest without being the biggest personality. You don't necessarily have to be. She's just likable herself, real, and awesome to watch. Sydney is someone who, after a while, she was kind of in the group with Sammy and Ryan, was betrayed by them, protecting her friend NECA, and then was on her own for a while, was this huge target. And to watch someone like that make it all the way to the end and then win is super exciting. And so it's really interesting looking at these two together in a similar placement because I think that their games are quite paralleled. But either way, congratulations to both of them. I really enjoyed watching both of them this season, and kudos on the top four. Looking at our top two, we're getting down to who will win the fan favorite poll of this season. Obviously, you all know who's left, and they're fantastic characters, both of them. One of which I think is a typical Stranded player. I would say it's almost a callback to an early season of Stranded, really. The other is one of the more unique people I think I've ever seen play. This is a very close vote, but I can reveal that the runner-up is Janine, which makes the winner of the fan favorite this season Kyle. Kudos to R2. I'll talk about Janine first. Janine was someone who came in as
I can see that you guys can hear me under my input.
We have someone interrupt Janine's moment.
There's nothing for you guys.
Nothing. So we had Janine, who everyone absolutely loved this season. She came in as a replacement, which instantly makes her the underdog that people are rooting for. The person she replaced dropped out, so that was an extra, like, all right, we got some new blood in here. What you don't know is that Janine got back to us, like, the day that the game started. So there's a little bit of kismet on this, that she was even playing, and she just absolutely killed it. She came in, was really funny, a good mix of, like, Joe and some of our more strategic players, which is unique. And you couple that with the fact that, she got the show, she gave it up immediately so that it wouldn't tank her game, which I think was really smart. She got in good with her alliance. She made it much further than she probably should have as a target. She had the extra vote moment where she overturned the vote to last a little bit longer. And she's just really, really fun and funny to watch. So thank you, Janine, for a great season. Finally, our winner of the fan favorite bowl, Kyle. I'm sure he's surprised, but look, the lurkers love drama. We can't help it. He is a quintessential Stranded player. He's someone who cursed everyone out, made rash decisions, came in like a bulldozer, maybe pissed off most of the cast, and that's just something that Stranded loves. We love the drama, and he provided that. And actually, as predicted, I think we've had similar players to Kyle in the past. And I said this on one of the podcasts, which you guys will eventually get to hear, I promise. I know I'm behind on editing those for you. But, he's really similar to Dan, one of our most controversial players in his first season, where in the game, everyone hated him, hated playing with him. But afterwards, when he was on the jury, everyone kind of loved that. And the other jurors loved having a pit bull on the jury to help attack the people that voted them out. I do think Kyle he did have his cringe moments, let's say, when it was a little try-hardy. People would get voted into jury and he would immediately attack everyone who got voted into jury, which is like, dude, what the fuck? You got voted off like 10 rounds ago. You're not relevant anymore. Sorry. But I think he bounced back in the end. The balance and, opinion of that really helped. I think he's just a really fun player to watch, and that's what we look for in Stranded. When we're casting people, we're not like, oh, this person's going to play a safe game and be really conservative and not voice their opinions. We look for the people who are going to get their hands dirty, fuck shit up, and call people cunts, and he did that repeatedly. So kudos to Kyle. You're a Stranded fan favorite. Believe it or not. We have quite a few other awards to get to. I know we're going to try to go through these a little quicker because I know we're coming up on an hour in, and I don't want to go too long. So, with that, we'll move on to some of the other votes. Most of these other awards, I'll tee them up, but the first handful were just appointed by the hosts as awards that we think the players deserved. So the first of these that I'll start off with is the best duo. And this is obviously a pair of players that we think were the most fun to watch as allies throughout the whole season. And really, it could go to no other pair than to the two that fucked up the game the most with their idol sharing and what have you. And that's, of course, Ryan and Sammy. I absolutely loved watching these two really take control of that merge, find a bunch of idols, share idols, play them on each other. They were just wild, and it was really fun to watch them become like obvious front runners and biggest targets, and to watch their downfall on that. So, kudos to those two. Very well deserved best duo for sure. Our next award is for best fight. This one's always my favorite because sometimes it's hard to pick one, but in this case, it was a very obvious fight. And this also involves Kyle, but we're giving it to Kyle and Cassidy, obviously for Cuntgate. You know, we're no stranger to that word, but in this case, you know, there was a lot of talk about how it was belittling and what have you, and the fact that it's just a greeting in Australia, really. So in his mind, it was nothing, but to Cassidy, it was a huge insult. So this really kind of kickstarted the drama this season, and I think this is a well-deserved best fight. Hopefully you guys have kissed and made up by now, but my guess is that you haven't. Cassidy said, just gross. We love you, Cassidy. Please never change. Up next, we have the best rivalry. This is an interesting one. You would think it would go hand in hand with best fight, but it doesn't. These two are really had a long-lasting rivalry long past they were voted out. Their vote-out date, when one of them was voted out. Sydney and Ryan, they started out as friends, so in a lot of ways this is best frenemy. But really, watching their alliance fall apart and these two really go at each other's necks, and then Ryan even after the game coming after Sydney was something to watch. So I think he did end up voting for her to win in the end, though. So maybe he came around. But these two were super fun when shit hit the fan. We love a frenemy to enemy storyline, and they provided that to us. So kudos to those two. Up next, we have an award. It's my favorite name for an award. It's not what it sounds like, but it is the Biggest Boner Award. And that's not what you think it is. It refers to the biggest boneheaded move of the season. And this season, we're giving it to Ellie, who was blindsided with 3 extra votes that she could have played, and obviously didn't. So that's... Oh, Lord. Yeah, so Ellie, you know, the rise and fall of Ellie. She was such a great player. Obviously, that time was going to come to an end when people blindsided her. She left the game with 3 extra votes, and that was enough to secure the Biggest Boner Award. So Ellie has the biggest boner this season. Up next, we have Biggest Glow Up. So this is the player that we think turned their game around and became a great player after a rocky start. And for us this season, it could be none other than our shitty overlord, Peter. Congrats to Peter for his biggest glow up. He really turned it around from like comic relief, someone who's on the peripheral, to like hardcore gamer by the time he was voted off, and someone who was a threat. So I think this is well deserved. Really good job, Peter. Yeah, he really learned how to polish that turd into something beautiful. So congrats. Up next, this is going to be an obvious award. You guys will instantly know who this is going to go to, but it is the Immunity Whore Award. And this season, there's one person who whored themselves out for immunity more than any other, and that is, of course, Sammy. Congrats on all your hidden immunities, regular immunities. You really killed it this season, and it was super fun to watch, so kudos to you. Well-deserved award. Up next, this is actually an award we do each season, believe it or not, and this season it was extra applicable because we had a meme that transcended just the players and the lurkers. It really became a mantra this season. So of course the meme of the season has to go to Peter's poop. Emoji even is something that was created to represent it. So kudos, Peter. I don't know where you would put this award, but that is the award. You got an award for your poop. This just in. It looks like Michelle is reporting to me. She said, "Why would you invite me to your lame ass server with a bunch of idiots? I only came to see what else I could dig up. Thanks." So, maybe that lawsuit's still on. I guess we'll see. Anyway, up next, another award. This is the move of the season. So, with this, we give it to the best gameplay, biggest move of the season. And of course, this has to go to Janine's extra vote Blindside, where Cassidy was voted out, saving herself and really propelling her to an epic character through this move. So it was really fun to watch, and I think it's a standout moment, which is something you look for with any move. And it's something you can call her own. So congrats to Janine here. Up next, we have another award, the Pre-Merge All-Star. And there were a lot of good All-Stars pre-merge. Debbie, Owen, but really it can only go to one person who really stuck with everyone, and that's Anna. So congrats to Anna for being our pre-merge All-Star this season, and really transcending her placement into epic proportions. So congrats to Anna. Getting down to our final few awards. Up next we have the Robbed Goddess Award. Little known fun fact, I actually helped coin the term Robbed Goddess. That took off. But this goes to the person who's just short of the final. And in this case, it was Jesse, which is fitting because I believe Leslie had the Robbed Goddess Award from last season. So our cute little Robbed Goddess family, Jesse and Leslie. Congrats to Jesse. He's in a plane somewhere right now. Hopefully he'll land safely and get his award. Up next is a very special award. It's named after one of our winners and one of our most memorable players, Lucy, who won Stranded in Turks and Caicos season 32, I believe. And, Leslie was someone who loved a dark sense of humor. He loved horror movies, super funny and biting, just like any good Stranded player would be. And unfortunately, Lucy passed away about a year after his win, almost to the date. And as someone who really got very close to a lot of the players in the server and just became a good friend to all of us as he was going through his struggles. So we did dedicate an award to Lucy that we give to the best villain of the season, and we call it the Valentine Award. That was his last name. And this season, I'm giving the Valentine Award to one of our most epic villains, Kyle. I think very well deserved. Season would certainly not be nearly as fun without you. So a very well deserved Valentine Award. Award number 3 of the night for Kyle. Racking them up. There's one more award that I'll give out. We actually have 2 more awards to go because Susie actually gives out a special award where she gives out a prize. I forget what the price is, but I believe it's $50 that she gives away. So that's a pretty sweet gig to get that she gives to her favorite player this season. So she's not here tonight. We're going to let her give that award out. She normally records a good little speech for it. That's really nice. But unfortunately, she got caught in that storm on the West Coast, so she's not able to make it tonight. So she's going to give that away tomorrow night and record her speech. So I'll save that for her. This last award is the Player of the Season. And that's what you guys have been voting on for one another. It's an award given to you by your peers. The lurkers don't vote on it. The host doesn't vote on it. It's the winner is not eligible, even though they're in the poll. And I can tell you that the winner did not get the Player of the Season this year. So we didn't even have to exclude Sydney. You guys voted on the player that you thought played the best game amongst yourselves. And this season, I think it's very well deserved. This player played their heart out, and I think they're very worthy of the title of Player of the Season. But with the majority of the votes, it goes to Sammy. So congratulations, Sammy. I think very well deserved. All right, that's it for our regular awards. However, while you guys congratulate Sammy, there's some final things we want to get out. Each season, at the very end of the awards, we induct new members into the Stranded Hall of Fame. We call them the Stranded Icons. We started doing this with season 39, with our first winner being Rudy, who was in the first season of Stranded, and was also in season 39. And so we have since usually induct a few more people into the pantheon of icons. And this season, I decided to do 4 players. I try to spread it throughout the different, eras of Stranded, what have you. But This time, I like these awards because it also gives me a chance to kind of explain what's so awesome about these players. The first Stranded icon that we're inducting this season rather, is Wiggles. Kelly was Wigglesworth. She goes by Wiggles. But she first played in Stranded in Bolivia Season 1. Later on, she came back for All Stars, and then Second Chance, where she killed it, as well as Revenge, where she became a villain. And Wiggles was just someone who started with the series and was really lovable, came back after several years and was extra lovable, and then came back for another time and was the biggest villain we've had in a long, long, long time. And so that story arc is just incredible. Well deserved as someone who started with the series when it first jumped off in 2007 and kept coming back. We hope she returns eventually. She hasn't been around in a while, but as with Stranded, it's hard to quit Stranded. It keeps coming back, and people they come in and out. So hopefully we'll see her again someday. The second person that I'm going to induct is another legend from the very early seasons. This player was in the season that the Scooby-Doo reveal was coined. Was one of the same. It's actually partnered with that player, and Courtney, who is one of our Stranded icons. But this player came in second place and is really the Russell Hantz of Stranded, and that is Lil. Lil, played by Reality Chopper, started her first season being the most villainous player you can see. And by the way, you can go read these archives, and we do have a podcast talking about it. But Lil's first game is epic in every sense of the word. And she has gone on to have mythical status as the Russell Hantz of Stranded. Highly recommend reading it because she is fucking hilarious. So a very well deserved icon award there. This next person is someone that you all got to meet. They're still around the server, but we're finally inducting them into the Stranded Hall of Fame as a Stranded icon. And that person is Ziggy. Ziggy is someone who started in Isolated, came back for Stranded and dominated the entire season. Came back for a winter season, been around the community for a long time, but is really and truly one of the better players we've ever had. And as you guys got to meet, you would know that he just loves to stir the pot. Truly a chaotic player in the best way possible. And of course, he had an iconic performance in the first season of All Stranded. So really, really well-deserved winner status for both Isolated and Stranded. But most recently, he's here. He might accept this award. Let's see if he joins. He just said what? All right. Anyway, so we'll see if he joins. But congrats to Ziggy. Well-deserved icon award. He sweeped his season. He says now. Oh, this wouldn't be Stranded without a chaotic podcast. He said, okay, give me a minute. He'll come accept his award in a minute. All right, and this final Stranded award, you don't have to be, it's not only based on your gameplay that you're an icon. A lot of times it can be your contribution to Stranded as a whole. If people look up to you as a player, if you're someone who's super involved in the community, and someone who just embodies Stranded that people look up to as an icon. I would count this final inductee in that category as someone who has been around for a long time now, was great in their season, has returned for a couple of seasons, but really their contribution to the series and their dedication to Stranded and their love for the series has been far outweighed by any performance that they could have possibly given. And so it is my great pleasure to induct the final icon award of the night to Dean. Congrats, Dean.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes, you are finally getting your flowers for the incredible job you've done co-hosting, podcasting, been around the server for a long time. It is far overdue, but you have finally earned your stripes as a Stranded icon. So congrats to Dean.
Oh my god, thank you. I'm shaking. It's not a seizure, thank God. But
Oh Lord.
oh my gosh, thank you. Pulls out a speech I prepared. No, thank you. I just really love this community. The first org I did, like many of the new people listening, and I just want to give the experience that I experienced to new players. And I'm not going to say much more, or else. Thank you, though. Oh my goodness.
And Really, the special award was to Dean, but I guess Ziggy can accept his award now. Ziggy, you're also an icon.
So you're telling me I've been here six years and you waited this long to show me the representation, the love that I deserve? That's disgusting. It's embarrassing. It's frankly embarrassing by the whole hosting team. The hosting team should be ashamed of themselves. I've literally carried this server on my back. Everything that you guys are is because of me. And the fact that it took you this long to recognize me.
All right, I muted Ziggy. Thanks for accepting your award, and you can fuck off now. Thank you. No, we do love Ziggy. We I'm not unmuting him. We love his contribution to the series. He will always be loved for being the most arrogant, and probably deservedly so, because he is an incredible player. But congrats to Ziggy. I hope you stick around, bud. I know you've been busy lately, but we love having you pop in with zero context and fuck up a reunion as you do. But that's it for tonight. Coming up, we have a lot of great announcements. We have it sounds like Danny is hosting a rematch. Please don't take that too seriously. I say that every season, and every season someone rage quits from rematch. Certainly puts too much time into it. Really, new feuds are started from rematch. It's really not supposed to be serious, but it will be taken too seriously, and people's feelings will get hurt because that's rematch. It's just messy. But it is a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of these other crazy alumni and get ingratiated. If you're interested in helping co-host a season, we're always looking for good co-hosts. Dean has done an absolutely fabulous job over the years of finding his niche, playing to his strengths. He is a confessional god. And we're always looking for someone who can add something special to the hosting staff. As I get older, the time I can devote to these things gets somewhat less. I try to make time, but certainly not as much as when I was younger. So I'm trying to spread the love. It's a community-run org. Truly, this year more than ever, these guys stepped in and helped co-host. We even made a schedule where they took over challenges, and more we're trying to get people in the reins and hosting events and trying to make it as much of a community-run thing as possible. So please, if you are interested, reach out to me when a season is about to start, and we'll get you in there and hosting. What else? We got plenty to do. We have the forums that will be opening up. You'll all get to read each other's confessionals. Please don't kill each other. Remember, it was just a game. You said some shit, and it was all in the moment. What else? We have other games coming up. I have an announcement about what's happening next with Stranded, as well as Isolated. An exciting announcement. I'll save that for last. Don't forget Susie's award is coming up tomorrow night. Lavita used to host different watch-alongs for different movies and TV shows, Survivor, what have you. So that may start up again. We used to do Jackbox. Anyone is welcome to start anything on the server and get it rolling to keep the community going, because this is a community-run org. So please, we love any and all participation. Finally, I'll announce Nofo, the host of Isolated, who played Shawnee. I think that's who you knew her as in Stranded. He is the co-host of Stranded, but he is the main host of Isolated, where I'm a co-host. And it's really his baby that he took and ran with. I spoke to him. We had a crazy idea. In Stranded, we have Stranded, which is Australian Stranded, where our players come back as all-stars, but they're playing in new reps. They're playing with Australian reps. Well, we thought what would be fun is a isolated version of that. And what's really cool is that in foreign versions, they often do a spin-off of the regular Big Brother. And in that spin-off, it's a shortened time period, it's more chaotic, but they have celebrity reps. So we thought it would be fun if we had a celebrity isolated, where players could come in taking on the rep of any celebrity that they wanted, and it would be a shorter time frame of a game. So in this case, we'd really like to run it in December as a quick holiday season for 2 weeks. And what will be really fun is that it will be an Alias Allies season. So you can apply with a buddy where your identity will be hidden. No one else will know who you are. They won't know that you're a pair, and you can really fuck shit up in the game together. That we're casting anyone for. We're looking at a 2-week season, so it should be a quick and dirty game. And we're just trying something else out that we've been kind of ruminating on for a while, what that looks like for Isolated. So look forward to Celebrity Isolated. I think it's going to be a lot of fun in December. And then we should have another Stranded maybe early next year. We'll see how tired I am. And we have some other announcements coming that will make that very clear as to when things might happen. So, with all that said, I want to thank all of the co-hosts, as I said, who stepped in a huge way this season, without whom I would not be able to do this. 1,000,000% I can say that. They really, really, really helped me continue this entire crazy experience going with all their work and effort that they allow me to take nights off, which is why I agreed to still do this. But most importantly, we have to thank each and every one of you who signed up for criticism, for an adventure, for fun, for what have you, and gave it your absolute all, put everything into it. We greatly appreciate your effort, your time. We've had a blast lurking. We hope that you all stick around. We love each of you in your own way, even if we have some criticism that you might hear. We still appreciate the effort you put in to playing Stranded. And if they're not talking about you, you're doing something wrong. So remember that. We hope to see you again. We'd love to get all of you in some games coming up. But if not, please lurk. I think it's more fun than playing. Lurking is a blast. It really is like watching a reality show of our very own making. You get to see all the feeds, all the confessionals. It's a lot of fun. So if you haven't had the opportunity, which none of you should have by now, except the ones who are in Isolated, please lurk for the next season that comes up. You'll get a ping in the server, so stay in the server. And that's all I have for you. Thank you for a great season of Stranded. This is Pooty, out.